We ready for this test drive?
Let's do it.
George, you want the front or the back? All right, you got it, bud. Hope the seatbelt goes around.
In the baby seat.
Hey, Zork, that's the baby seat.
So? All right, so what are we checking this out for?
All right, so this thing came in here for real bad brakes, but I'm starting to realize that it has some huge clacking in the front when I stop.
Can't park there.
Can't park there. Hey! All right, so we got Miami. We got Miami dudes driving up in here. Thanks, buddy.
Welcome to Miami, George.
Welcome to Miami. All right, so this thing is...
It actually rides pretty smooth.
It rides pretty smooth,
This
but
is where
it's...
they get the rides like a caddy from.
Yeah. So
How the brakes?
It's got a major misfire. All right, let's check out the brakes. Oh, laser. This thing's dipping.
Pulls to the right?
Yeah, it pulls to the right. And it's drum brake. Now, what is it we do when we have a drum brake car that is pulling to the right?
It's dragging.
Now, what's dragging?
Shoe.
So that means that one is tighter than the other,
Right, so they're not even.
causing the
So
pull.
when you're basically hitting the pedal, one's grabbing first, which is the pull, and then the other one is not grabbing.
So let's do it again. It's not major, but it's happening. And the client actually brought it for brakes. So the car has to brake straight. Whoa,
We just got lapped
by an electric dirt
by
bike.
an electric bike.
So I'm assuming that vibration is that right front tire.
Yes, I did a quick walk around on the car and I noticed that right front tire actually has like some chunks missing. It appears to me that side was probably locking up at one time and it was just eating the tire away.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Is that us?
Yeah,
That backfire there?
yeah. I give it a little watt and it bogged.
I think we should go electronic fuel injection in this car.
That was
On a caddy?
actually the proposal to this client was an EFI upgrade. But when the client got the
It gets pretty expensive.
when he got the quote of what the approximate cost was of all the repairs, including the upgrade work, he thought twice about doing the work. So he chose just to do brakes and to fix the things that are broken on the car.
Whenever you convert to EFI, you're not just pulling the carburetor off and just dropping an EFI unit on it. You're adding a lot of electric. You're typically changing the fuel tank and adding an in-tank pump if you want something very reliable. You're changing the fuel lines to a higher pressure line. When you're taking a mechanical pump off, you're blocking it off. So there's a lot more parts and labor involved when you're doing EFI.
And don't forget that we are
And
wiring.
you're changing an air cleaner too.
We're wiring a brand new electronic system into an old
Right,
wiring
so you have
harness.
to check the alternator, make sure it puts up enough output. There's a lot more to it. You don't just unbolt a couple things, throw it on, and you're done 2 hours later. It's not the way it works.
And usually it encompasses fixing a bunch of wiring that really didn't matter before, but they matter now.
You start taking stuff off, you always find stuff break as you're taking it off. The minute you pull that gas tank out, you're going to see something else down there. A gas tank strap probably rusted out or something similar.
All right, Zork, what do you say we get in here and check this car out?
Yeah, I think I felt something going on with a control arm over there.
And let's do it.
All right, so George, this is what I was telling you when I was doing a visual inspection. I can see this area here, and it's pretty rough compared to the rest of the tire. I think this is related to that pull where this tire, it's locking up, and this is what the asphalt's kind of eating it away. If you got like a bad shock or something, usually you'll have a soft spot, hard spot, soft. It'll be like this. This is one area. This is pretty typical of somebody locking up the brakes there. All right, so the one thing I noticed, George, we got a lot of wet. We got a lot of wet brake fluid from this master here. So more than likely what's happening is the master's leaking at the back of the piston. It's leaking out. It's probably starting to damage the booster at this point, the seals in the booster there. So that's something we're going to have to address. I know Johnny also said that there was a slight misfire there. I'm just looking at these wires, and they just kind of have them laying on stuff, and looking for arcing right now to see if we see any signs of white powder on the back of the spark plug wires. And I think what we'll probably do is just pull the spark plugs out, take a good look at the spark plugs, see if they're fouled, see if they're running hot, something like that. Probably clean them or put another set of plugs in there. I'm pretty sure we're gonna have to do something with the timing. If you notice, when we started up the car earlier, it had like a little delay where you cranked it and it had a little pause, and yeah. So I think we got a little bit of a timing issue we're gonna have to look at over here. A lot of times nobody ever checks this stuff, but the hotter the car gets, the harder it is for it to start. So on a cold day, you might not hear that, but on a hotter day, after the car's been driving for a little bit, you're gonna notice that. It looks like somebody's put new valve cover gaskets in it at some point. We'll do a complete fluid check on this. We'll do some belts, check the belts out on it. This belt over here is probably a little loose. I mean, we can definitely push that one in quite a bit. That might have been that little squealing when he was going around the corner there. We also have to see what the customer actually wants to do. Everybody's budget's different. We'll also do a complete fluid check on this too. All right, hey George, do you remember these? Back in the day, they used to have these little things here and you used to flush the coolant system with it. So I haven't seen one of those in years. But as we're just doing our visual inspection here, I like doing like a little tug on some of the wires and some of the components. Like you can see this is loose here. So this is loose. This is going to be a problem. I can actually wiggle this out if I keep pulling it. So even here it's a little bit loose. You can see it in there. So these are great if you just try to do a quick repair, but the ones we use, we crimp them. So you're putting a battery cable, you're actually putting it inside a piece, you're actually crimping it, so it's not going to come loose anymore after that. And then these, we would typically put like a red heat shrink on it so we know this is the positive. I know that sounds kind of trivial, but you never know if you're in an emergency and you got to cut something off, or if you put the wrong one there, you got two wires here and you decide you're going to put this black one on this side, this is attached to the alternator, and boom, now you got another problem. And then, of course, we got this here, which is probably a dead wire, but just hanging loose. Put some heat shrink on that, or just cut it off for safety. All in all, it's in pretty decent shape. Just some minor stuff. It's an old car. I would expect there to be a lot more wrong. It's actually in very good shape considering. Just repairs over the years, maybe done by some home-schooled mechanics. And we'll get that all taken care of for the customer. I'm going to give you guys a little tech tip here. If you noticed on this, some people don't know this, but the positive terminal is a little wider than the negative terminal. And that is so you don't put the wrong terminal on here. So even though these aren't labeled, these are actually the positive wires right here, and they should have some kind of red marking, whether you put red wire on here, whether you put red heat shrink on it, or instead of black electrical tape, you can buy red electric tape. Just wrap it so somebody knows what it is, but you would not be able to put that negative on that positive, at least not by normal means. You would be able to put the positive on the negative, but you would not actually be able to complete the circuit. So that's just a little tip. You guys can, if you're not sure which one goes where, you can just look at the size of the hole on the terminal, and then that would tell you which way it goes. So that's Zork's tip tick of the day.
Subscribe to Mr. Classik YouTube channel for more episodes.